Okay, let's attempt to do a trade season preview since we're a decent ways into the season now. Real quick, shout out to the Knicks. I did a video saying they were extremely average. They've won 7 in a row. The Celtics are also in a rough patch. Don't know if I should be concerned just yet. I recently did videos on the Suns, Warriors, and Bulls talking about some trade stuff for them. I don't want to take too long on this. For the Suns, I think Kyle Kuzma makes a lot of sense. They've got all their future picks. They've got salary to match. Kuzma is most likely going to decline his player option after this season. The Warriors, they need a point of attack defender as well as another big guy, possibly another wing. But for them, they can't trade all of their future picks, and also they don't have an obvious contract to throw into moves, so it gets a little awkward. And for the sake of the Bulls, I get it. The pick, they only get it if it finishes in the top 4, but given Lonzo's health, it's tough to find the pathway to this team getting back to being competitive, let's say, at next season. So I think at the least, they've got to at least see what teams would give them for DeRozan and Vooch, and then go from there. I think at this point, we all just get that Collins is not featured in the Hawks offense as much as he could be. He's spotting up a lot, where really he's meant to be a guy who's diving to the basket as much as possible. Fun little stat, NBA.com says he's rolling to the basket 1.5 times a game. In 2020, that was 5 times a game. And so it's like, okay, what would they want there? They probably want more shooting. Here's the thing, though. Collins has grown as a defensive player, and I do think with Atlanta, if they were to make a move for Collins to get more shooting or whatever, how much smaller would they potentially get? Because I do fear that they could get too small. Because, of course, you need tall dudes around Trey. Anyway, from Shams, the 4 teams that have been connected to Collins so far are the Wizards, the Nets, although then I saw another one from the Nets that said they touched base, for whatever that means, the Jazz, and the Mavericks. Dallas has been rumored for John Collins before. Of course, they got Christian Wood now, so that's just awkward. And I don't think Atlanta needs Christian Wood, so then at that point, it's just kind of difficult to find a world where Collins ends up in Dallas. As for the Nets rumor, so we already have a report that says the Hawks are not interested in Joe Harris for John Collins. And so then after that, I don't know how that move happens because I imagine the Hawks would want a big wing. And the Nets just don't really have that to offer. I mean, they've got TJ Warren and Watanabe, but I don't think the Hawks are going to take either one of those guys for Collins. If we talk about the Wizards, I mean, you can do the Kuzma Collins thing, but I don't think I've seen anything connecting Atlanta with Kuzma. And, with Kuzma, he's going to be a free agent after this season because he's going to decline the player option. The second thing is Kuzma leads the Wizards in shot attempts. He's averaging 18 shots a game. Beal averages 17. Porzingis averages 16. I don't think Kuzma's going to shoot 18 times a game on whatever team trades for him, which is fine, but it will be interesting to see just his place in the offense wherever he gets moved to, if he gets moved. Because his off-the-dribble stuff has just gotten better. I mean, this year, 25% of his two-pointers are assisted, which is by far the lowest of his career. The Jazz were the other rumored team for Collins. The only thing I could picture there is like Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt to Atlanta. Do I love Malik Beasley on the Hawks? I mean, he gives them more shooting, which they need, but it's also like he's 6'4", and that's just kind of tough to plan around when you already have Trey. Vanderbilt could help them because he could help anybody with his offensive rebounding and his defense and all that. But I just feel like the Hawks would prefer a do-it-all taller wing for Collins, and the Hawks or the Jazz just don't really have that player. To talk about the Jazz for a bit, it's interesting that they're even involved or rumored for Collins. I imagine they would not want to give up a pick for probably anybody, to be honest, this season. As for the big picture look on Utah, the main reason why they don't have to tank is because they have 9 million draft picks from the Gobert and Mitchell trades, right? And so they could view this as, hey, we got a pretty good team right now, and eventually some star player is going to want out, and we've got the ammo to make a move happen. I mean, if Lauri Markkanen is truly this guy now, this very efficient, low to mid 20-point scorer who's on a hell of a bargain contract for the next couple of seasons at 25 years old, then that sounds like a hell of a number 2 option behind guy who they might be able to trade for in some amount of time or whatever. With that said, look, teams are definitely going to call them about probably everybody on the roster between Malik Beasley, Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Kelly Olynyk, Jared Vanderbilt. So they'll have opportunities. They can do whatever they want, really. Now let's talk about Bojan. So before I talk about the rumored teams and all that, I want to say Bojan has been so good for the Pistons that part of me is like, do you really trade him? I mean, look, I know Cade's out for the rest of this season, but he's going to be back next year. Bojan fits in really well with them, and it's not like he's ruining the tank or anything. But his age is his age, so that's the counter to that. Anyway, the rumored teams, we've got the Lakers, Heat, Mavs, and Hawks. So the Hawks, I mean, just go back to what I said before, shooting, all that nice stuff, big forward, Don't really know if the Pistons would want John Collins like that, though. For the Lakers, I mean, we know what it is. It's the draft picks at the tail end of this decade. AD has been playing like a monster. LeBron's jump shot is back. And they can do a Pat Bev, Kendrick Nunn type of thing. It's still tough for me to imagine this front office really moving any of those picks, though. That's just where I'm at with that. With the Heat, they really need one more front court player. Boyan, he's technically a power forward. I guess that tracks. They also need more shooting because Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, and Gabe Vincent have all been worse from three this year. The thing for Miami, though, is that pretty much their only trade stuff, because I don't think they're going to trade like Jovic, is basically the picks that they've got and Duncan Robinson's contract, which is not even an asset because it still has a few more years on it. As for Dallas with Bogdanovich, I feel like this just speaks to a sort of big picture question with the Mavs, which is, would they be willing to move any of their picks at the tail end of this decade for the sake of an immediate improvement, even if they could potentially wait this season out and then have all of their picks available for some big move that may or may not ever actually present itself? Because, of course, they're going to give up their last pick to the Knicks this season. If I had to take a pick there, I would go more so with they hold on to stuff, but I also take the safe pick on everything, so I don't know. There's also been this Saddiq Bey stuff for the Pistons. The thing there is, he's good on catch and shoot threes, but when it comes to shooting threes off the dribble, that's really where his percentages start to fall off from outside. So I feel like another team could just be like, it's fine, we'll just have him be more of a spot-up dude, and the percentage, similar to his rookie season, will be up there. But that report was surprising. I would have imagined the Pistons were just like, yeah, we'll just ride it into the fourth season with Bey, and then we'll see what happens with the extension, maybe take it to restricted free agency, and that's that. They could still keep him. I'm not saying he's definitely getting traded. Let's go to the Raptors. So they've had a rough stretch recently. Their half-court offense is not fun. I mean, Scotty Barnes does some things in the post, and Fred will screen for Siakam, and Siakam overall has been very good as his ball handling has continued to improve and his passing and all that. But they are 28th in three-point percentage. And it also just seems like their half-court offense doesn't have a lot of connectivity, read and react, improvisational stuff, if you will. Like, it's very mechanical of, this is our plan for this play, and if it works, great, and if it doesn't, we don't know what to do. And so that could be like a defense switches on them or just throws them a coverage that they just didn't initially anticipate, and then it becomes, there's 10 seconds left on the clock, we got to figure something out, we don't know what to do, it becomes an ISO or a post-up. Now, with that said, looking at the personnel, I would bank on their defense coming back to being what it was at the second half of last season, where they had some stretches where they were like legit terrifying. But still, if Masai wanted to pivot in a different direction, I guess he would have the opportunity. As far as what that direction is, I don't know, because when you go down the roster, it's like, I like every single player here. I mean, I think it's safe to say Siakam and Scotty Barnes are not going anywhere. And I would also like to believe the same for Fred, but then I'm like, you need some more juice in this half-court offense. It might just be as simple as like a Gary Trent sort of trade. I guess some quick hits here. You know, Evan Fournier is just not playing for the Knicks as they've been winning, so I imagine if you want him, you can get him. Should you fear that his shooting has suddenly regressed because it hasn't been as good with the Knicks this season? I would not bank on it. I mean, he's been a good shooter for a long time. I'm going to assume he's still got that. Did I talk about enough stuff? I probably missed some player or team that there's been a rumor about. My bad. And yeah.